In Tempe, Arizona, police officers stood there and watched while a man drowned right in front of them. Ooh, clickbait title. But hold on, there's more going on here. Okay, Tempe, Arizona. The title to the article says that police just stood there and watched a man drown. Well, that's a gut check reaction. Oh my God, the police did what? It's clickbait. Let's not fall for their tricks. Let's see what actually happened, and let's break it down, and let's understand it.
Tempe police actions are under investigation after a man drowned in front of officers at Tempe Town Lake. Last Saturday, officers went to check on Sean Bickings and his partner after getting a report about a possible fight. Good evening, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us for 12 News at 10. I'm Rachel Cole.
I'm Jonathan McCall. As officers were checking his background, Bickings climbed a fence and jumped into the lake and started swimming away. Team 12's Michael Dowden has spent the day watching the edited body camera video provided to us from Tempe Police and reading through the partial transcript of what happened. And Michael, the big question so many folks had, including us in the newsroom, why did officers not pull this man from the lake?
Okay, what they led with first is a brief introduction, no problem, standard news stuff. And then they automatically label the footage as edited and then a partial transcript. So they're kind of leading the viewer into maybe the cops did something wrong. Keep that in mind. I think that's the angle they're going with.
Jonathan, simply put, it's still unclear. We haven't been able to talk to those officers involved, and the department hasn't answered our questions yet. But police records indicate that they stood on land, listening to his desperate pleas for help as he drowned.
Okay, a lot of charged language there. They stood on land, as in they were safe, and they listened to his desperate pleas, and they didn't do anything. You see where I'm going with this, right? They're setting a scene. The cops were all safe, and they didn't do anything, and the guy was desperate, and okay, here we go.
Shortly after 5 a.m., police arrived to check on what they describe as a physical disturbance call between Sean Bickings and his wife.
Did you guys get into a physical confrontation?
No, nothing like that. No.
At that point, the officers really don't have a reason to be there, but it would be nice if someone from social services who has a mental health background could have dealt with that.
Andy Anderson.
That's a common thing you're going to hear from socialists and the ACAB group and the defund police group. Well, we need a social worker. We need a social worker. Well, this was 5 o'clock in the morning, and I would consider this a crisis situation. So the cops showed up. Okay, let it play out.
Is a former assistant Phoenix police chief who agreed to look at the records that Tempe police have made available. The body camera video shows after officers spoke with his wife, they went to Bickings.
She thinks you're from Japan.
Making small talk while checking for warrants.
You a big AC/DC fan?
After 4 minutes, Bickings goes over the railing.
What are you doing, my friend?
Well, in the reality, law enforcement did not have authority to detain him.
I'm free to go, right? Now, this is something you hear a lot of people say. Now, when cops come and make contact with you, if they don't have a reasonable, articulable suspicion of a crime, then technically, yeah, you are free to go. Now, this is an unfortunate situation where he seems like he might be having a mental episode. He climbed over the railing. He decided to jump in the water. I'm not sure the cops could have done much in this. He didn't commit a crime. And they can't just arrest him just because they want to. So far, the cops are doing a great job. They're not raising their voice. They're not being aggressive. You know, a lot of cops are getting some heat these days for doing bad things, but at this point, they're not doing anything wrong. They're making contact. They're being calm and rational. All right.
You can't swim in the lake, man.
You're not allowed to swim in the lake.
The officers stand there as the man just swims away.
How far do you think he's going to be able to swim?
We hear an officer talking about getting a boat, and the video ends. Tempe police limited what they turned over in a public records request, claiming that the drowning itself is too sensitive, instead providing a partial transcript. That shows Bickings telling officers, "I'm going to drown." They respond, "Swim to a pylon." When Bickings says he can't, an officer says, quote, "Okay, I'm not going in after you."
This is not a lake patrol team that has equipment.
Well, that was clearly a misquote. "I'm not going in after you." And the transcript says, "I'm not jumping in after you." I know I'm nitpicking, but the details are important with police files.
To handle water rescue. These are street cops.
Bickings and his wife both plead for someone to do something. His wife telling an officer, quote, "He's drowning right in front of you, and you won't help." Now, Tempe police would not clarify how much time these pages cover, but eventually, Bickings went underneath the water and never resurfaced.
I think it's heartbreaking. I think it's a tragic situation. It's awful.
It wouldn't be until nearly 6 hours later that Bickings' body was pulled from the lake. Now, Scottsdale Police and the Department of Public Safety are investigating the steps officers did and did not take, as the responding officers are on paid leave.
Okay. That's the news report. I have pretty mixed feelings about this. I feel just awful for the guy that drowned. He appears, I'm not a psychologist, obviously. He appears to be going through some kind of mental distress. He jumped into a lake at 5 o'clock in the morning and swam out to where he couldn't swim anymore, and he expired. There's nothing good about that. I'm not celebrating that. On the other hand, the cops really didn't do anything wrong. They are not obligated to go save him. Now, it would have been heroic if they did, but I don't know. Do these cops know how to swim? I don't know. I don't know if they're trained in water rescue. I don't know if they've ever been a lifeguard when they were in high school. And what do? They take off their gun belt, leave it on the sidewalk, and jump in? That's a bit irresponsible. Then they would get blamed for that. I don't think the cops were put in a position where they could have made any choices that were good. If they jumped in and tried to save him and then didn't, or they pulled him to shore against his will and he filed a brutality assault charge. Listen, man, things are weird. And cops don't have, what's the right word for this? They're not obligated to save you. They're just not. Now, what I did is I pulled up I want to make sure I get this right. So I pulled up something from the Mises Institute. And what it says is this is a previous Supreme Court ruling. Now, this is from the Parkland school shooting, like David Hogg, Florida, the whole thing. This is a quote from that Supreme Court ruling. It says, "Neither the Constitution nor state law impose a general duty upon police officers or other governmental officials to protect individual persons from harm, even when they know the harm will occur," said Darren L. Hutchinson, a professor and associate dean at the University of Florida School of Law. Police can watch someone Police can watch someone attack you, refuse to intervene, and not violate the Constitution. The Supreme Court has repeatedly held that the government has only a duty to protect persons who are in custody, he pointed out. Okay. So, what are these cops supposed to do? What are they supposed to do? They don't have to save you, as we've all been made painfully aware of the Uvalde students. They let those kids in there for 77 minutes while unspeakable things happened. 50 years ago, cops would have kicked off their shoes, thrown down their gun belt, and jumped into the water to save him. I hate to tell you, man, those days are long gone. Now cops are afraid of being sued. And if they do get sued, they'll lose. I can show you 1,000 examples. I don't blame the cops, but all the good cops have gone. All the cops that would have just, without a second hesitation, would have just jumped in and saved this guy. They're gone. You are on your own. Cops won't save sick people. Cops won't save schools in an active shooter. Cops will not protect Judge Kavanaugh when protesters are outside of his house, even after he's been basically attacked by someone with a gun and zip ties and burglary tools who was on his property. Listen, cops are not going to protect you. I don't want to make this dark, but it is what it is. If you're not living up to the reality of today, you're going to be in a big surprise. Cops are not here to protect you. They're not going to save you. They will draw a chalk outline around you and write a police report after you're dead. But if there's gunfire, you're on your own. This may be why they're trying so hard to neuter the Second Amendment. They don't want you to be able to protect yourselves. The only ones with guns should be the cops and the bad guys. But hey, this is where we're going. I really, really want to hear your opinion on what the cops could have done or should have done in this situation. I'm very, very curious. I hardly ever ask for comments, but I want to know what you're thinking. Please tell me your opinion on what these cops should have done. So I've got a little mini goal. I'm trying to get to 100 subscribers. Now I know I just got started, but I think I'm doing really interesting takes on underreported news. And if you appreciate any of this, give me a quick subscribe and help me out. And then I'll see you tomorrow, or maybe later today.